In this lesson, we are jumping straight into the follow settings for Jarvee, and I just want to show you how to get here in case you get a little bit lost. The first thing you want to do is come to your tools in the sidebar, make sure you're in here. Look for your Instagram profile that you want to set up, and then under actions, just click more tools. Alternatively, you can just click on your actual Instagram profile name as well, just here. But we'll click more tools, and then that's going to open us up into the actual settings for all the tools that we can start automating. So like I said, we will be doing follows here, and what I've done is set up everything for us. I'm going to walk you through step by step and explain things as we go along, because it's going to be nice and easy for you to learn. So let's get into it. First thing to notice is we have the settings tab, the follow sources tab, and the results. We will be diving into the follow sources and results after. But let's get started with the settings here. First thing to notice as well is the status is to stopped. That's completely fine. But after you obviously set up everything in the follow settings, you will want to turn this on so it says started. But I'm just going to keep mine off or stopped for now. So run timers. This is how we basically tell Jarvee, how it should start running follows for us. When should it do it? How many should they do, etc. So we're going to change a lot of default settings here to better optimized ones that are going to help your account grow quicker and more human-like. So we're going to change the wait between to 2 to 3 minutes before each new operation. And if you're wondering what an operation is, it's basically just any of these. So following people is an operation, unfollowing people is an operation. And you'll notice as we go through the other modules or lessons in this course that this number stays very consistent throughout the others. Next up, we're going to change our follow between to 4 and 6 people per operation. So when it says, hey, it's time to go follow people, we're going to go follow between the range of 4 to 6. So it could be 4, it could be 5, it could be 6. And then between each of those people that we follow, we want to make sure we have a delay of 55 to 75 seconds. So what's going to happen is Jarvee is going to go follow person number 1, and then it's going to wait between 55 to 75 seconds, then go follow person number 2, 55 to 75 seconds, wait again until it has obviously followed either 4, 5, or 6 people. Next up is our execute between. We are leaving all this to default because we need the most amount of time in the day to make sure that we do enough follows, and we'll be jumping into that in a second. And we just don't really need to add a random sleep timers or turn off any days overall. If you want to obviously make yours look more human-like, please feel free to change the times, mix things up, but I recommend you don't, because once again, you need the maximum amount of time in a day, 24 hours, to make sure that you get through all of these follows so that your account is actually going to grow effectively. So let's jump into the follow limits. What you're going to do is when you first start off, you want to do 25 to 50 follows per day. So once again, you want to follow a maximum of 25 to 50 people the very first time you start Jarvee. And the whole idea here is just to warm up your account, get it going slowly, get the snowball effect, show Instagram you're not just trying to spam straight away and like just mass follow people, mass unfollow people, just warm it up. Show Instagram, you're actually there for a good time and like a long time, and not there just to ruin everyone's experience. To 25 to 50, and you want to increase it by 25 each day, until it reaches eventually 800 maximum follows per day. Now 800 is where I like to cap it off. I like doing 800 follows per day. Please feel free to lower this number to whatever you feel comfortable with. I know a lot of people will do 600 follows per day, 500 or even 400 follows per day if they want to, keep their account more safe. And, just full disclaimer, the lower the number you go, obviously the safer your account is, because you're doing less actions per day. It shows Instagram you're more human, because not a lot of people, will go out and do 800 follows per day. But this is the number I've been using for years. It works amazingly well, and I've never had any issues with it. So if you want the best growth, use 800. If you want to stay a little bit safe, go down to around 600 is what I would recommend. Okay, so now we can jump into the users filters. And these are going to be really optional. You have a lot of choice what you can do here in terms of how you want to target people, how you basically want to filter out anyone you find. So first up, these are going to be the recommended filters that I personally use and will use across other accounts. but feel free to turn some on, turn some off as you wish, but typically these work really well. So first up is skip non-English users. If you're obviously targeting people who speak other languages than English, turn this off. I also make sure users have a profile image. I just want to make sure that, they're actually sort of more invested on Instagram. They're not just a fake dud account or an inactive account. Most people who have a profile image are generally using Instagram more seriously, and therefore, they're going to like and comment and engage with your account. I'm going to skip over the ones that I haven't enabled because, use as a minimum number of posts. It's not really required, or even a maximum. It's just weird. Even the minimum number of characters in their bio doesn't really matter to me because some people have really long bios, some people just don't write a bio, but they're very active. But this one here is very important. User bio must not contain any of these words. I have a link down below this video to my blacklisted words, so it'll be just a list of nasty words. Feel free to use that, paste it in. It's got a lot of words in there. You can even add some of your own if you can think of them, or remove some if you wish. So I recommend you just take a look at it. Heads up, it is pretty nasty words in there, but it's going to stop your account ever being involved with any nasty profiles out there. Next up, you can put in must contain any of the following words. Pretty self-explanatory. You just type them in. Etc. I'm not really going to jump through these, especially the follow ratio, because these actually require math to figure out, and it's just a waste of time. You don't need to follow people if they have a specific following ratio. It's just silly. And something to keep in mind as well with your user filters, the more of these you turn on, the harder it is for Jarvee to find these specific users, which could actually mean that you don't, reach this maximum number of followers per day. So, something to keep in mind. But something that is important is user has a number of followers/followings in a specific range. First up, I like to make sure they at least have some followers on their account. Typically these are just going to be their friends or people who like their stuff. Shows that they're more active. They're probably uploading posts because people want to follow them and see their stuff. The 20, it's a pretty low number. A lot of people can achieve 20 followers easily. But we also want to limit them at 1,500. We want to make sure that they don't have a ton of followers, so they're a big niche account with 100,000 followers, because if you go and follow that account, they're probably not going to follow you back. They're not interested. And the same goes with the amount of people that they're following. I want to make sure that they're at least following 20 people minimum. It shows they're actually willing to go out there and follow accounts. They're interested in following users. And also that they're not following too many. So once again, 1,500. Because if they're following 5,000 people, you're all of a sudden competing with 5,000 other people in their feed. Let's say 10% of them upload every day. You're competing with 500 other posts in their feed. Whereas, if they're only following 1,500 and they upload 10%, 150 people, it's a little bit easier to compete with if 10% upload again. Next up, user posted within the last X days. Sometimes I like to turn this on, sometimes I don't. At the moment, it is best to turn this off because it does cause a little bit of a block issue on Instagram, because if you want to go find X amount of posts from, let's say, 60 days ago, Jarvee has to go out and try and find those posts, which can just cause Instagram just to sort of block you momentarily. So it's just best to keep this off, and it's not really a required filter anyway. This one is really important though. We want to make sure that the user is not following this account. We want to skip followers. There's no point in following people who are already following you. They like your stuff. We're also going to not follow private users. This is optional. If look back to my lesson where I show you how to find accounts, target them, and you notice most people have a private profile, you can obviously turn this off, but most people are private for a reason. They don't want to be followed, is what I generally would think. In here, you can add some blacklisted users. These are going to be people that you will never ever follow. So if you type in, for example, Instagram here, you will never follow the username on Instagram. So it'd actually be the Instagram account. So you can type in, maybe competitors here that you never want to follow, or you just know some people that, for whatever reason, you just never want to follow them. I'm just going to disable it though, so I have no one to enter. These ones are fully optional. You can skip business accounts or only follow business accounts. Of course, if you did follow only business accounts, that is going to really be a small amount of people overall. So it'd probably be best just to not keep any on. But skip business accounts, generally not interested in them, especially if you're trying to target customers. Other ones, skip accounts of a website, optional, a phone number, optional. And also, do not follow accounts of more than 4 digits in their username. I love this one because most of the spam accounts on Instagram typically will have 4 or more digits in their username. If, through your research, you found lots of people had, for some reason, 4 digits in their username, but they were real people, just bump this up to 5. No real reason to not do that. But leaving it at 4 is completely fine. They're just going to be the really random spam accounts, and it's not going to follow them for you. Finally, we have made it to this long list of filters, but we are on the follow only. You can choose male, females, both male and female, or just all. Something to keep in mind here is if someone doesn't declare what their gender is on Instagram, Jarvee is not going to be able to say if they're male or female and may still go ahead and actually follow them. So for example, if you say, oh, I just want to target females, Jarvee is going to try hard to find only females, but you will still probably end up following male accounts. Just wanted to throw it out there in case you start wondering, why are male people still following me? And of course, people can find you through other sources other than you just using Jarvee. But please feel free to enable whatever you want there. I'll leave mine to all. And then you can of course target languages as well. Once again, the same thing. Let's just say you pick Chinese. For whatever reason, Jarvee will go out there and try and find, Chinese speaking accounts. But it may still follow people, who speak English or French or German and so on. But, this is going to try and refine it a little bit more. Finally, we are on our after follow actions, and what we're going to be talking about now is the sort of setup that I personally love using. I've been doing it for a long time now and it works amazingly well. And it's called, I like to call it just the 1-2 punch method. Essentially, number 1 is following someone, and then number 2 is liking their most recent post. And the reason behind this, why you want to do it, is because firstly, when you follow them, they're going to get a notification, so 1 notification. And then number 2, when you like their most recent post, they're also going to get a 2nd notification. So, with keeping these things in mind, if you then do a 1-2-3 method, 1-2-3 punch, you would follow, like, and then like. So then they'd get a 3 notification. So if you imagine, on their phone, when they look at it, they're going to be like, oh, cool, someone's followed me. Oh, and they've liked. Or just, they followed and they've liked my personal favorite. It's going to give you more opportunity for them to click through and then see who you are, instead of just leaving them with 1 notification. So that's sort of the theory behind this, and it does work really well. So what we'll be doing is the 1-2 punch. It's the one I recommend. But what we're going to do here is, firstly, we're going to skip wait time when no more results. We're going to make sure that is enabled. And what this does is, if Jarvee just for whatever reason just can't find any more people to follow, it's just going to skip over the whole tool and then move on to something else, such as, liking comments or deleting any nasty comments or sending direct messages and so on. Then what we're going to do is make sure we enable like users' latest posts. And then what we're going to do is wait between 10 to 20 seconds before each like. And then we're going to make sure we like between 1 and 1 posts. So originally this may have been, 1 to 2. Just make sure to bring this down 1 to 1, so it is always set 1 to 1, and it is that way. If you want to randomize things a little bit, please feel free to go like between 1 and 2 posts, because then you're going to start mixing in that 1-2-3 punch. So follow, like. But if you just leave it to 1 to 1, it's going to be follow and then like consistently. It completely is up to you. Please feel free to test this in different ways. Obviously 1 to 2 randomizes things a little bit more, so you look more human. But just, keeping in mind, you're not going to go about and do this for every person you follow that way. If you leave it to 1 to 1, this is going to happen for every 800 people you do it for. If it's 1 to 2, let's say it's going to sort of only do 600 likes. Just to keep in mind. But that'll make more sense once we jump into the next lesson where we cover liking. Then what we're going to say is like a maximum of 0 to 0 with a 0 to 0 between each max like per day. We're just going to leave this all at default, just no limits, because we can control this actually within our likes, which we'll be talking about next. And then we can move on down. You can obviously like random posts. I recommend just turning that off though, because we just want to like their latest post. You can also comment on a user's latest post. I recommend you don't do this because you don't know who you're going to be commenting on, and there's a whole nother lesson that I will be talking about comments in, where you can actually use comments more effectively. Same with send direct message after follow, completely optional but not really recommended. Set pending friend request, don't need it. We don't want to mute the user after follow. You can do this, this is optional. Let's say you have a client account and you're running this automation for them. Essentially what a mute is going to do is it's just going to hide all their posts on your client's timeline, or your timeline in matter of fact. So yeah, you can mute them if you want, but something to keep in mind, and this definitely isn't declared anywhere or like sort of set in stone, but if you are muting users on Instagram, it may have a negative impact on your account, because Instagram's algorithm may say, why is this person muting everyone? Why don't they want to see their content? And it's obviously going to start changing, what you're seeing on the platform, because you're pretty much saying, I don't want to see posts like this. And therefore, it's going to change things a little bit. So something to keep in mind, but it is there as an option. Then finally, we want to remove poor quality sources after 2,500 follows. And we also want to make sure that the follow back ratio is not lower than 0.15. And this is going to be a sweet spot range for you to actually start basically over time, gaining 100 plus followers per day. Because 0.15 ratio of 800 followers per day averages out at around 100 brand new followers per day, which is awesome. So yeah, that is a lot of information, and what we haven't even covered yet is, how are you going to go out and target these people? So let's get into it. So we have everything set up, and by the way, you just have copy settings down here at the bottom. So if you ever want to copy these across to another account, you can click copy settings. You'll be able to choose your account here once you obviously load it into your social profiles. And then you can come through here and change and enable different things that you want to copy across. Press OK and it will copy them. But yes, like I said, let's talk about the sources. How are you going to be targeting people here? So up here, like I said originally, there's settings, follow sources and results. Let's click on the follow sources. And then in here we have lots of different things to basically enable. And I'm just going to turn mine off here so we can go through them one by one. Now these are ways that you're going to declare to Jarvee how to find users who you want to follow. So hopefully you've looked at my lesson where I teach you how to actually go about finding, competitor accounts, people to target, etc. And you have maybe a list of 20 people or so. But what we're going to do is start putting them in here. And the first one we're going to do is we're going to make sure we start following people who are followers of those target accounts, the ones that we've researched. And this is really simple, really easy to use. Basically, you can just type in their username here, or you can just paste in a list of accounts. So it could be account and account 2, etc. Just all of them. And then after this, you want to click on add account followers, as well as leaving follow the most recent 0. That just means no limit. So it'll always be finding followers of those accounts. And as you can see, I just have a huge list here. Obviously, the more the better at the end of the day, because if I just sort of quickly switch back here in our settings, we are going to be removing poor quality sources. So we're going to remove any of these sources which don't have a follow back ratio of 0.15 after doing 2,500 follows of each source. Yeah, that is our source section number 1. So let's say 9gag here had a follow back ratio of 0.05. They would eventually get removed from the list after following 2,500 people, specifically from this source right here. So another thing to keep in mind just before we jump ahead, we have changed our selection rank to number 9 here. And the way ranks work in our sources is basically 10 is the most highest priority. So Jarvee will always say, let's try and find people to follow on that source first. Then if it runs out of people, it'll jump into the next one. So number 9, it'll say, let's find people here. And the reason we've set this up is because we're going to also be finding people or following users that have interacted on posts of target accounts. So we're going to enable this. And this selection rank is number 10. So it'll try and find people, who have either liked or commented on your competitor or target accounts first. And then we're going to check for likes and comments. Doesn't really matter. We're happy if they've done a like or just a comment. You can obviously enable just comments if you want to target people who are only commenting. But likes and comments works great, so it's going to give you a ton of people who you can then go out and follow. We're then going to find users who commented in the last 2,880 minutes, as well as we're also going to scrape only posts in the last 2,880 minutes. And that is just going to give you enough time sort of once you start Jarvee to start scraping people, getting people to go out and follow. And then what you want to do in here is just paste in a list of accounts. It'll literally be whoever you put in here, you should also be putting in here as well. You just be adding accounts, going out there, doing your research, finding potential accounts that have your audience on, your demographic, add them onto the list, because once again, if I just jump back into settings, we are going to be removing those poor quality sources, which is honestly one of the best settings and features of Jarvee. Just having control, over who you're targeting is absolutely amazing. And that is it. You can obviously go through the other options. You're more than welcome to follow users by hashtag. You can just type in the hashtag here, go through all that. You can do follow users by a specific username if you want to follow a certain person just in Jarvee, as well as, location. And down the bottom we also have interacted on targeted posts. This one's really good, so if you find a post that has awesome engagement, you can just paste it in here and then obviously set up everything the same as we just did. But these are the recommended settings I highly suggest. So follow users that interacted on target accounts, as well as followers of target accounts as well. Finally, just in the results, just to show you some nifty little tricks, this is going to show you everyone you followed, whether they followed back or not, if they unfollowed you, how you actually found them as well. And then something really cool is view follow back ratio. You can click this and it'll open up a notepad like this. It'll tell you the source, so what the source is, the ratio, the follow back ratio, and the total amount of people that have actually followed you back. And then finally, just to finish off, you can change your status to on, and then you have set up follows, and I will see you in the next lesson.